Welcome to Inside the Noise by Guitarcenter, where we interview the artists, the leaders, and the innovators in the music industry. I'm Gabe Dalporto, CEO of Guitarcenter. Let's go inside the noise. Hey everybody, we have an incredible show today. We're here with Marty Schwartz, who has the largest lessons program in the world. He has 5 million subscribers on YouTube. He has had billions of views of his videos teaching you how to learn instruments. He has a podcast that he recently launched, and he also has had a signature Epiphone ES335, so not many people actually have a guitar built around him. I'm really excited for the conversation today, and Marty, thanks for joining us.
Gabe, thank you so much, man. This is exciting, it's a thrill. And I've been going to Guitarcenter since before I played guitar. So it was always this, I was a high schooler and we would, it would be our little safari, me and my buddies, like we're going to Guitarcenter today. And
I love it.
Yeah, so it's exciting. I mean, I have all kinds of pinch me moments now, so many years later, but one is right now. I'm just gonna add another one to it right today, hanging out here instead of going to my local Guitar Center, I'm literally at Guitar Center with the man himself. So I think, it only took 35 years, but I finally made it.
Well, I hope we're taking good care of you, and the honor is truly all mine.
Thank you so much.
I'm really excited for the conversation today. So, music lessons I think are absolutely dear to my heart, but really important to music. And, since the days that we came out of caves, people have been playing music. It is part of the human experience. It is just endemic to who we are. And, we are now, we had this incredible wave of rock and grunge and music innovation. And now we have all kinds of new instruments and electronics and innovation happening. And the thing that I'm passionate about is making sure we inspire the next generation, right? What is the next generation of artists? How do we get them onboarded, get them playing? Because it is part of the human experience, and it's probably never been a more exciting time to play. And you probably more than anybody have played a hand in inspiring that next generation. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for saying it. Every once in a while I have a moment of reflection on that, and I'm sure you're very similar. I just have my own business. I have kids in college. I've got a lot of responsibility. So I'm focused a lot more on what am I doing today? Like today I woke up and I'm like, going to Guitarcenter, headquarters, Guitarcenter, I'm doing this, right? So I'm not reflecting on I've taught, millions of people how to play guitar, the next generation. But every once in a while I have these moments where I get to reflect on that. And so you saying that, it means a lot to me. And it's humbling, and I never was planning on any of this to happen. I was just trying to make a living, know?
So let's jump off right there.
Yeah.
And tell me how you got started. Why did you even go on YouTube? Why did you decide to go down this path?
Yeah, and one quick little anecdote, because you said ever since we came out of caves, a lot of musicians are still in caves. They're just modern versions. In fact, my whole business started in a cave. It was in a garage. The whole thing was
literally a garage startup.
It was a garage. It was one of these 2-car garage, and then on one side tandem, 2 back.
Yeah.
And when I first moved into that house, it was in San Marcos, California, where there's a Guitar Center. 2 back, when I saw the house before I bought the house, I was like, that's my man cave.
All right.
And I put a wall in, I had my buddy come who's a contractor, come put a wall in and a door. And I was like, this is my sanctuary. So it was literally, yes, a cave. So out of college, I was a musician playing in bands, and the musicians I looked up to, they all taught as their kind of day job. I never looked at a difference between being a guitar teacher or a guitar player. I looked at versatility as a musician, which is how many things can you do and make your living with that passion of music. And so some of my mentors were my guitar teachers, but then they were also doing sessions and gigs and touring. So I never looked at any, difference of like whether you're teaching or playing. It was all the same career. So with that, for about a decade out of college, I played in tons of bands. And then my day job, because the gigs are at night, the day job was teaching guitar. So I just did that for a whole decade. Super busy, super booked up. I always had a lot of work, always had a lot of students. I was good with little kids, because maybe I'm just like act like one and try to, right? Try not to grow up, try to always have that youthful excitement about things. But in 2005, it was very random. And there is a similarity to the movie School of Rock with Jack Black for me. In 2005, I got this. I had ads for guitar lessons. There was this thing called the Penny Saver.
Yeah, I remember the Penny Saver.
So I had a Penny Saver ad, and it was like, I had a music degree. It was like guitar teacher with a music degree, good with kids, all levels, Marty, phone number. So this elementary school in Carlsbad, California, their music teacher, general music teacher, quit last second. There was a family emergency or something. So this music teacher for this school quit, and they were kind of scrambling to get a music teacher, and they saw my ad, and they were reaching out to a lot of people. So my ad was one of the many people they were just trying to get. And so they called me, and they're like, oh, we're this elementary school. We need a music teacher. Is that something you'd be interested in? Like, you want to come and meet with the principal and the PTA and all that? And I thought about it. And what I really thought was, oh, well, I've never done that before, but man, that would be cool because I'd get so many private guitar students from it. I thought of it as my lead generator.
There you go.
As we say in marketing.
Many musicians are entrepreneurs.
It's true.
Yeah, and that's a very entrepreneurial mindset.
It was, and I had a basically like a 10-month-old daughter at the time, and this is 2005. So I was like, okay, this could be cool. I'm just going to be honest with them when I go into the meeting, and I said, I've never done this before. I've never thought about doing it, but I remember, Gabe, I don't know your experience, but when I was in elementary school music and we did music class, I hated it. The recorder,
yeah.
The
I was
staff.
bad at it.
Yeah, exactly. I was bad at it too. I was like tone deaf. I had no interest. It was like, one of my least favorite things to do in elementary school. And yet here I am, a professional musician. And so in the meeting I said, when I took elementary school music, I hated it, but here I am now as a professional musician. That just doesn't feel right to me, but that didn't connect back then. So I don't know what you guys are looking for, but I would just tell you that what I would do is I would do what I wished someone would have done when I was in elementary school. Someone that comes in, plugs the guitar in, you guys want to rock, like the whole thing. And inspire them, And if that's not what you're looking for, if you're looking for the hot cross buns, that's the if you're looking for that, I'm probably not the guy. But if you're looking for someone that's just going to do their best to inspire and have fun with the kids so they love it, that's what I would do. And they were kind of progressive. The principal was like definitely a more progressive energy. And they were all smiling in the meeting, and I left, and a couple days later they called me and they said, we want to give you a shot.
All right.
And so for the next 3 years it was just like 20 hours a week. So it was like part-time job. It worked. I got so many private students. So now I'm teaching all these little kids. I start putting little rock bands together. I mean, outside of school, not as part of the school, but So
you're doing this School of Rock playbook.
Totally, and it's before the movie. The movie hadn't come out yet. I already loved Jack Black and Tenacious D. I was really loved that as a musician. And so he was already someone I really looked up to. But so I was like kind of doing that, a more realistic version, not a Hollywood fantastical comedy movie version, like more real version. But I, inspired, tried to get kids excited about it, taught this whole community in North San Diego guitar. They all, in that neighborhood. It's Carlsbad. I mean, I drove a little Chevy HHR. It was not a good car.
That was in the bad part of auto manufacturing.
Yeah, it was not. I needed a car to carry gear, and I needed a cheap car. I got that car. It was not good. But I drove around anywhere I drove in that neighborhood, like anyone like waving at me. I just like everyone knew me, and driving around, the music teacher, Mr. Schwartz, Mr. Schwartz. And so I really thought that I was like, wow, I think this is my calling. So in my mind, YouTube didn't exist yet.
Yeah.
And so in my mind—
What year was this?
This is 2005.
Yeah.
So YouTube's definitely being created, but it wasn't what it became, right? So now I'm thinking, oh, so what do I do from here? Because I'm really thriving. The kids love me, the parents love me, the community loves me. It's just going. I'm inspired as well. I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. So in my mind, I was like, oh, like, do I start like a music school? After school music school, which in the School Rock movie, that's what he does at the end of the movie. So I was thinking that, right? And I was like, or do I become an elementary school teacher? Not music teacher, because I'm like really good with the kids and I'm having fun with them and I'm enjoying, it's rewarding. So I was like kind of leaning down that path, or thinking this may be, because I was also thinking about security for my family, and freelance musician was not the most secure gig. So I was kind of leaning towards that. And then, so I did that for 3 years. And in 2008, when the economy crashed, they laid me off. They cut music.
That's terrible.
Yeah, and some of my gigs as a guitar player, I had a few different regular restaurant gigs. I played every Saturday at this jazz club with a trio. I had some other corporate gigs that I did as just a guitar performer, not a teacher. And so it felt like in the period of 1 or 2 weeks, I kind of lost 80% of my employment in 2008. And I have a little kid, now I have a new son. So my daughter's about 3 now. I have a newborn son. I'm freaking out. I'm just thinking I have to move back in with my parents with 2 kids, married with 2 kids, move back home like failure, basically. And it was a really stressful time. But
that must have been really difficult.
It was so bad. It was so bad. But something interesting that happened, right? So I didn't become the Marty Music YouTube guy, but during that kind of last year around 2008, let's rewind back maybe 6 months before I got laid off. I was teaching a lot of students, and my little kids were doing cute things, and this is before the iPhone even, and I was the dad with the camcorder,
I had one of those flip phones or flip recorders.
Oh, yeah, I had one of those too.
Yeah,
this is even before that. So let's just talk a 3-year timeline. 2005 to 2008 is the gestation of what happened to me. So somewhere when my daughter was really little doing cute things, and I'm the goofy dad with the camcorder, I want to share cute family videos with my family, and there was no easy way. I mean, we've come a long way. It's 20 something years ago. People might not remember, but you couldn't just text this cute video or even email a video. We're so used to our devices now and how easy that is to share content and video, but back then you couldn't really do it easily. And a musician had told me about this thing called YouTube, which is how we use Dropbox now. Yeah. I use Dropbox all the time to share content with my editors and files and all that. So back when I first heard about YouTube, it was basically because I think I was shooting some of my gigs and videoing some rehearsals. We're working on material, working on songs, and we just want to host it somewhere for the other band members to watch it. So I opened up a YouTube channel to host my own library, Dropbox, right? Yeah. And so I had a YouTube channel just as what we do Dropbox for now. And there wasn't stuff, you couldn't just type in anything and just everything would pop up. All media now exists on YouTube that you can think of any
So it's so funny. Right around that time, I'd had my first kid, my daughter, and I had on my whatever probably camcorder recorded her running around in her fairy costume.
Exactly.
And I'm like, how do I share this with the grandparents? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'll put it on YouTube. It was the same thing,
so
right?
It's exactly.
So I uploaded it to YouTube, and that's how you know.
So literally, that's we share that same exact experience with the very early stages of YouTube. But so here's where it becomes Marty Music. And every guitar teacher can relate to this. I had this teenager, and now he's literally in his 30s with kids and married and everything, but I still remember him. His name's Colton. And, teenagers back then, when I would teach him guitar, guitar was like this activity that they had with soccer and, dance class, gymnastics. Oh, you got guitar today. Oh, but you got the thing tomorrow. And so it was just this like little thing they were doing with a bunch of other things. They weren't necessarily serious about it. They liked me and they enjoyed the lesson, but they didn't really work hard at it. And so I had this kid, Colton, who like 3 weeks in a row, didn't practice the stuff that we were supposed to, that he was supposed to practice. And he'd give me those classic teenager excuses like, well, I had a soccer tournament, then I was at a birthday party, and then, well, I couldn't remember how it went. You taught it to me, but now I don't remember it. I know you like wrote it down, but I don't remember how it goes and all this stuff. And so the third week in a row where he'd just given me the BS I didn't practice, and I had my laptop, because I would like look music up and whatnot with my laptop. So I told Colton, I said, all right, Colton, I know what I'm gonna do. And I flip my laptop up and I just turn the camera on a photo booth on my Mac, and I hit record, and I go, okay, Colton, here's the Jimi Hendrix Fire riff, because you said you didn't quite remember the rhythm of it when I showed it to you. So here's exactly what I want you to practice. It goes like this, so it's, the 10th fret to the 12th fret on that G string, and I'm gonna play it real slow for you right now. And so I basically, in about, let's say 7 minutes, did this little video tutorial for Colton. Mm-hmm. And I like this part of the story because it's like kind of like ties into the history of the YouTube. Is I told Colton, I said, all right, Colton, I'm gonna put this on this thing YouTube. Have you heard of YouTube? So I'm gonna put this video up on YouTube, and I'm gonna title it Colton on March 19th, 2007. So all you have to do after I leave, you have to just go onto youtube.com, type your name in to YouTube, and this video is gonna pop up. And That's
before there was 1 billion viewers.
Yes, and so I said, I'm gonna see how many, but I told him, I'm like, I'm gonna check how many views it got, so I know how many times you watched it.
Nice.
So, 8 to 10 views, right? Which he could have faked anyway. But I mean, it's just funny to think about like where we sit now in 2026 and what YouTube is.
It was so primitive.
Yeah, and so I did that. I uploaded it to YouTube for him. And then I was like, wait a minute, this is a really good idea. I can do this with every student. I'll shoot the like recap of the lesson and put that up there for them. And it will all be on my YouTube channel. And then the next step was when I get referrals, because I had my business cards at the guitar stores and whatever, just referrals, penny saver, all that. When someone would call, yeah, I'm looking for guitar lessons, I saw your ad, or they gave me your card, I could then say, and this is marketing, I could then say, oh yeah, I teach all styles. I do a lot of guitar lessons. You can go to my YouTube channel, Marty Schwartz, type that in, and you're gonna see my lessons on there. So you can see like my style of teaching, and you can, watch to see what I'm like. And so I just thought, wow, man, I'm so innovative. Like that is like really, I'm so smart.
This was before social media marketing was a thing.
Totally before all of that.
Yeah.
And so then I just started building up private, these videos that were just made, curated just for those individual students. But I realized like my other students could watch the other lessons. Yeah. And so there was like a very mini version of what scaled. And what happened one day, and this is another accidental thing, now we have this term SEO, search engine optimization, but I learned that, I mean, that term, I'd never heard that term before. It didn't really exist in the normal vocabulary. But one day, accidentally, for one of those students, I typed in, instead of his name first, I just did the song name first. How to play the intro to Mississippi Queen for Chase. His name was Chase. I still remember the exact one. So how to play the intro to Mississippi Queen for Chase on March 19th, whatever. Upload that, and that got like a few hundred views. So it got like hundreds of more views than the other ones, which were just the kid's name. So then I was just like, well, this is cool. Like, I want other people watching. That's kind of fun. There's something to that. So then I just started titling everything with the song first. And then that Mississippi Queen, maybe a month later, had like 2,000 views. And so I was just like, okay, I'm gonna keep doing this. So then now that was before I got laid off from the teaching job. So I had started doing that. So then when I got laid off from the teaching job, on the drive home, and I was really deflated, defeated, anxious, stressed about my future. Why did I do music for a living? That was stupid. And so I'm driving, I still remember driving home in the HHR from getting laid off. Going, what am I gonna do? And I'm like, at first I'm kind of feeling sorry for myself. And it's about a 25-minute drive. So by the last like 10 minutes of the drive, I'm like, I'm gonna make YouTube videos every day without the student, just to market myself as a guitar teacher, just to promote myself. And maybe someone will call me, I'll get a gig, I'm gonna show how I can play too. And I just made that decision to take action, that I was just gonna make videos every day. And it did work, actually, that next plan, because back then on YouTube, you had an inbox. You could message people on YouTube. Mm-hmm. This is before Google bought YouTube, it was before that. And it did actually work. People would start to reach out to me. Oh, you're in San Diego? I really like those lessons. I would like to take lessons with you. So it did actually work. I did actually pick up private students originally with that plan. And then, it just kept growing.
At what point did you, because there was no monetization back then, and at what point did you realize you could actually make money at this?
So the first 8 or 9 years of my YouTube experience, I made zero revenue from YouTube. I mean, almost a decade.
So part of that was, if you were playing copyrighted material, you would, the algorithm would notice that, and they would take any ad revenue and they would just give it to the original artist.
Yeah, and this is before that. I mean, the copyright stuff's all like evolved a lot, obviously, because YouTube now has a deal in place for it. Like, that's what you're saying.
So, a little side story.
Yeah.
Do you know why there's a revenue share on YouTube for copyrighted material now?
Tell me.
Because my wife was a social media influencer. She was doing parodies. She got no monetization for this. And she was so upset. And somehow we knew someone at YouTube, and she got introduced to the VP of product there. And he's like, so give me feedback. And she went off on him for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And at some point he's like, wait, you have all these millions of views and you don't get any monetization for that?
Right.
And she's like, bingo.
Right.
And they changed it.
So I didn't even turn on monetization on my channel for the first 8 years. Because especially with songs, you could get a copyright strike, and then if you got 3 strikes, your channel would go down. So what happened with me, and now I do the ad revenue. I mean, I've been on for 18 years and it's changed so much, but those first 8 years, I didn't even turn it on. What I did was, because I was building up a fan base, I made guitar lesson programs burned onto DVDs. So I had like a 20 DVD how to play guitar program, like from square one, with no copywritten stuff. Like, here's an E minor chord, now we'll play it, learn blues.
So you were in the DVD business?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that first, 8 years, I was just converting fans into customers.
Of a DVD business? Wow.
And so I had a shipping fulfillment house that I used, and I would burn the masters and send it to the fulfillment house, and then they would, and that was like, there was like it was pretty expensive. Like there was a big chunk out of the sale that had to go to duplication and shipping. But yeah, my business was shipping DVDs.
And for how long was that?
That was like 8 or 9 years.
Wow. And then when did you figure out when did you finally make the leap to being able to be a YouTube business?
Well, at some point, a better deal got in place with the copyright aspect of it. Also, I ended up kind of starting from scratch. So that's like my first chapter of the whole thing. In 2016, 10 years ago, so I'm gonna have my thing's called Marty Music, right? So Marty Music itself is only 10 years old. And I basically started from scratch in 2016. And only then in 2016 did I started a new channel, new website, new brand name, new business, everything from scratch 10 years ago. And that's when, from the very beginning of that, I had the monetization turned on. The deals were in place for the copyright stuff. It was all in place. I created a new website that was just streaming. And so it all just complete rebrand. And so that's Marty Music, and I'm celebrating 10 years of that. So the first 8 years is like a kind of ancient version, and then it completely started over. And so the last 10 years I have run Marty Music.
So it's a total rebirth.
Total rebirth. I own 100% of it. It's just, very lean. I know I've learned so much from that first phase of it.
So you start from scratch, and it must have been very hard, but also you get a blank slate. You take all those lessons and reinvent yourself. So what'd you do differently? Like what was your game plan here? What was the magic?
Yeah. Well, one, having better production value.
Yeah.
Because things had changed.
A lot.
The world in 10 years, from the first 10 years of YouTube to, 10 years later, so much had changed. So I learned about lighting, microphones. I'd become a better guitar teacher. Teaching this stuff better. My earliest videos, I didn't even know people were going to be watching. So I'd be like, well, yeah, you kind of go like this and then noodle it around. And all of a sudden I was like, wow, now I have a responsibility to be better and to make the stuff higher quality. So it was definitely making the production value better, the teaching better, the presentation better, how I communicate as a teacher. I learned a 10-year arc of how to teach in video, the angles, what songs, just, so many different things. And then on the business side of it, it became digital. So I didn't make DVDs anymore. I found a better platform to host a website called Kajabi. I started with Kajabi right at the beginning of that company being created. So I'm kind of grandfathered in as one of their first users of it.
Hey, I just want to say thank you so much for listening to the podcast. We've actually been really overwhelmed by the response so far, so thank you for that. We have also noticed that a lot of you haven't subscribed yet. We have incredible guests coming up. I'm not even allowed to tell you who they are, but trust me, you don't want to miss this. So hit subscribe. That way you don't miss an episode. Now back to the program.
So let's talk about what do you tell a new learner who maybe thinks, oh, I'm not coordinated enough, or I suck, or I can't do this. Like, what would you tell someone getting started learning lessons?
Yeah, I still have these experiences. I think anyone can learn guitar. I really, really do. And even someone just saying, I can't, they're already creating a limiting thought, right? So I very early try and change that thought process. No, you absolutely can. I've seen anyone be able to play guitar. Now, we all have different strengths and abilities. Keith Richards can't solo like Slash, but he certainly did very well with his creativity and his abilities. So you just have to lean into what your strengths are, and we're gonna find out what those strengths are together. But the most important thing is consistently picking it up every day and being super patient with yourself. I just took on I don't do many private lessons, but there are certain situations where I do, like high profile people or whatever, just where it's worth it to me to do it. And so I had a new one, and he's never played guitar, and he's in his early 60s, and he was asking me those very things. And I said, you know, in our third lesson, he's like, well, is this fast enough? Like when you see someone at this level, you know, he's like, you know, very hardcore business guy. And I was like, stop right there, because it's March right now. I said, I don't want you to ask that question ever again I'm giving you 3 months. So in late June, you can ask me that question. When we get together in late June, ask me if you think you're playing the chord changes fast enough or anything like that. So it's so psychological. And I've seen it I've seen that a lot with people, especially like high success people. I want this.
I want success now.
Exactly, and I get it, and that's why they're successful. So I have to like pull that out and say, no, you don't understand. The other thing that the number one thing that a student should do, and it's hard for everybody. I've seen it across the board. It's the hardest thing to do, but it's the most important thing. I say it over and over and over. Play super slowly. And I've even said that in videos, and I slow the video down where it's like, and what it is you're training.
So why does that work?
Because you're getting that muscle memory and that visualization. Like a D chord looks like that, and a G chord looks like that. Literally like D, boom. It's a brain thing. I mean, if I was a neuroscientist who I have met with and talked to about this stuff before, but I can't get into the science of it. But I just know, I've seen it, that's the quickest way to nail it is literally as slow as possible, and nail it super slow, then speed it up. But I do feel like you do, like, let's say like 10 reps, like super slow. Then try one full speed, and don't nail it. Like make it be all messy, blah, 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 you know, just to feel that feeling. Okay, now go.
That is such great advice.
Slow again, but it's hard for everyone. Like I wish more people could do it. And even I catch myself like that too, when I'm like learning a song, you know?
I'm super impatient.
I know, and really like people in your position, like a CEO, like successful people that get stuff done, that's why they get stuff done. You want it right away.
But I like, my personal experience is if I'm trying to learn a song and I'm struggling with it, I can't get it, it's the answer. You just do it slowly.
Yep.
And do it well slowly. Yeah. And then you can speed it up.
There's nothing worse though than, and it's hard, and this is a life thing, this isn't just a guitar thing, like that voice saying you can't do it will become true.
Yeah.
And I can't be your therapist to try and change that. I'll do my best, like guitar teacher version of a therapist, but really the limiting belief will come true. So if you believe, in 3 months I'm gonna be playing Sweet Child of Mine or whatever, the more you believe it, the more you'll meet it there. But you have to take all the steps to get there. It doesn't just happen overnight.
So tell me, like, maybe kind of like a little rapid fire or something.
Sure.
But theory or songs?
Songs, for sure. I was just talking about this off camera. Paul McCartney says that he knows no music theory.
What?
I'll just have a little plunky plunk, and then he goes like this, we're just four lads with our guitars playing, having a good time. But what they really did, they played tons of covers. Yeah. They played every cover of their generation, Chuck Berry and Little Richard and and Elvis. They learned all these amazing songs and played in Hamburg, 10-hour gigs in Hamburg playing covers. And they learned the language through songs that were already proven to connect with people and to connect with people's ears. And they internalized it into their language. It's like when you, how are you gonna learn a language faster? Are you gonna learn Spanish faster by being in Spanish class once a week and doing the class, or are you gonna learn Spanish faster parachuting out of a crashing plane, landing in Mexico, and you have to learn how to talk to people to survive and get your way out of it?
Wow. I mean, I personally experienced this. I took 2 years of Spanish in high school and couldn't say a single, like I could say nothing other than Donde está el baño.
Exactly.
And
it's important.
And
though.
quiero un cerveza. and that was it.
Yeah.
And then I went and spent 3 weeks in Ecuador doing nothing but speaking Spanish, and I came out of it at least conversational.
Yeah.
Right. And so like for sure, just like immersing yourself and doing it and practicing it. And I feel like probably like just that consistency of it. So talk to me about like, how do you, what I find with in-person lessons is you have a great lesson, 30 minutes or 60 minutes with your instructor, and then you get busy and you do nothing for a week, right? So like how do you break that?
Yeah. Well, I have one saying, which is 5 minutes a day, no matter what, because that holds you accountable for the consistency.
Yeah.
And 5 minutes kind of makes it so you can't say you were too busy because 5 minutes is so small.
Yeah, you have no excuse.
You have no excuse. So but ultimately, will 5 minutes a day get you really good at guitar? It depends, probably not. But I say 5 minutes because ultimately, if you're playing guitar, it should be something that's fun. If it's not fun at any point, then maybe it's just not for you, and that's okay. It's not for everybody. But 5 minutes a day, what I really mean by that is that you're being held accountable. You need to pick it up every single day.
It goes back to your original use of YouTube. You're counting the views.
Right.
Were they actually practicing and the
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, but 5 minutes, what I really mean by that is the least intimidating sounding accountability, because when you have a little breakthrough, and especially the beginning phase is the hardest phase. When you have a little breakthrough off some of the D and G's, like, oh, wow, this is like flowing. Yeah. You don't even look at your watch and it's been 40 minutes because you had a little breakthrough. You're not going to always have a little breakthrough. So the 5 minutes a day, it's consistency. And just finding things that like your favorite song that's easy, that's like just attainable. When you start to play your favorite song, that's just, at least for me, I started to learn some easy, like a Beatles song or a Bob Dylan song or a Neil Young song that I really loved. And when I realized it wasn't as hard as like I thought, like I used to think guitar was like a magic powers thing. You needed like special musical ability. And when I had that little breakthrough around 18 years old that you didn't need that, then I was so excited. Like I wake up, I can play Heart of Gold or whatever, I can play, Hotel California or something.
We've all had our Neil Young moments.
Yeah, Old Man, whatever. And I would just, I wouldn't have to be like, oh, I've got to do my 5 minutes today. I would be like, where's my guitar? I like want to play it. So
then next rapid fire question, play alone or play together?
Nothing will get you better. It's the same thing with being in Ecuador. The best possible thing you could do is to play guitar with someone that's just like 20% better than you. Skiing, you said skiing before we were on camera. The best way to get better at skiing is if you're trying to keep up with someone that's better than you and you're just barely on the edge of like crashing and you're like trying to like...
That's pretty much my entire skiing experience.
Fair enough, a lot of people. So nothing is better. And so when I was in college, I was a film major, but I was playing guitar all the time. And I just lucked out and met a couple of guys in college that were just the perfect amount better than me. And we're playing together. And I'm a little behind. And it's forcing me to just, and now I'm lucky in the later phases where I get to, jam with Susan Tedeschi, who literally, her partner is the greatest living guitar player. And then I get to play with Trey Hensley and Marcus King and these people. And I'm just like...
Tell me about playing with Trey Hensley.
Yeah, oh yeah. So Trey is a sweet, sweet guy. I discovered him on Instagram. Like I didn't know who he was. And the guitar algorithm is feeding me stuff, and I was just like, oh my God, like this guy is incredible.
He's bluegrass, right?
Bluegrass, yeah. He can play everything, but he's known as a bluegrass, like traditional bluegrass guy. I just started like commenting, you're amazing, like this is so good, and hey, let me know when you're like, he lives like outside of Nashville. I was just like, hey, fortunately I'm in a position where a guitar player would be interested in hanging out or coming on my channel. So that's cool, because if I see someone that I really like, I have something that I can offer them. And what I get in return is getting to get a little osmosis, from them. So Trey's just an incredible player. I mean, I got to know him better. I also produced a guitar masterclass for him that I directed and produced.
Oh, fantastic.
So that's like one of my new phases, is producing stuff for other people. I did one for Marcus King as well, which is a thrill. I'm learning. I get to like extract their secrets, so it's really fun. But Trey Hensley, he played with Johnny Cash when he was a little kid. He played the Opry when he was a little kid. So I didn't realize he was actually one of those like little kid dynamos. Yeah. And he's just done it ever since. And he just keeps getting more and more. Social media has been really good for Trey. Like this world we live in of media, because he's such a he's a true virtuoso, that it's really benefiting a guy like him, So I think he's just going to keep going and going and going. Bluegrass is also having a great moment because of Billy Strings and some other things too. But
so fun to watch.
Yeah, but Bluegrass is having this great. It had a great moment with "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" Is that the right way to say that? That kind of had a nice little moment. And so we're in kind of another one of those like little renaissances.
I grew up in, date myself, in the 70s, and my dad was counterculture hippie, and we're growing up in rural West Virginia, and he would drag me all over the state to these bluegrass festivals.
Nice.
And we'd like pitch tents in the mud and whatever. But like bluegrass, I don't know what it is. There's something that is just totally timeless and magical about it. And to me, I think like no matter what genre of music you like, you can always like bluegrass.
I agree with getting to hang out with Trey for 3 days in a row, helping him teach what he does. It was really, it was humbling for sure, but it was interesting. Like he would show a technique and I could see what he was doing. And so just to give you an idea of something about him or bluegrass in general, he's like, do this little lick. And then I like grab my guitar to do the exact same lick, and I'm about half as loud as him. Like that's just like how powerful and how loud, how like he can pick. It is a virtuoso's genre, It really is. There's the songwriter version of bluegrass. So there's like some really good, like just more song and songwriting. But I really think of true bluegrass as like, Tony Rice is like he's like the Jimi Hendrix of bluegrass guitar. He's not alive anymore. But that's the kind of thing like basically Trey Hensley would just learn a Tony Rice album. There's a really famous album called Manzanita that like, if you like bluegrass, that's the like Abbey Road or whatever. Like that's the quintessential guitar bluegrass album is called Manzanita. And Trey Hensley as a kid, he learned it note for note. The whole part, everything, the words, the singing, the rhythm, the lead, the solos note for note, just spent, I don't know how long, but he just could play every single element of it and recreate it.
So now you're kind of living like a dream. You get to meet your guitar idols, and how has your life changed now?
It's changed. It's still changing. As a guy who's really driven to keep going and to keep growing and to keep looking for new opportunities, I bet you can relate to this. I wake up and think about what's next. What am I doing? Not like reflect. I have moments of reflection, but mostly I wake up and I'm thinking about like today, I'm going to Guitar Center. I want to meet Gabe, and and I want to, have a good impression, and this is another step in my journey. So I'm thinking ahead.
Yeah.
But then every once in a while I have reflection moments, and it hits me. And maybe there's a little imposter syndrome in there too. I don't want to like think about it too much, resting on my laurels. I have this, just like you said, I'm living the dream. So I have to make the most of it. I feel a responsibility to do with I created it, but also what's happened to me. I feel this great responsibility to make the most of the opportunities that I currently have. But just a couple of amazing reflection moments in the last like year or two. Like Howard Stern called me. and was just like,
It's amazing.
yeah, he was just like, Marty, I love the lessons, man, and like, I just want to ask
So he
you.
just found you and was
Yeah.
so
Well,
great.
actually, he mentioned me on his show without me knowing, and then everyone reached out to me. Howard Stern talked about you today. So then I had a couple of connections through, knowing someone, and I was like, hey, just real quick, Howard mentioned me. I know he's like, kind of doesn't like to talk and meet people or whatever, but just tell him, that I really appreciated it, and I'd love to send him my signature guitar. And if he doesn't want it, no pressure, but I'd at least like to send it no pressure. So they call me back, oh, he'd love it. And so I had Gibson send him the guitar, and then his people come back, hey, Howard wants to call you, and expect a call. I was like, okay, and phone rings.
It's like the president on the phone.
Yeah. No, the phone rings. It says New York.
The White House.
It says New York on it, and I was like, hello, Marty, it's Howard. And it was just crazy. And he was asking me guitar questions, because he's really passionate about learning guitar the last 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah.
And he was just like, here's what I'm doing. Do you think I'm on the right path? And then asked me about my life and stuff. And so it's like, you have these surreal moments. The most surreal, and it will never be more surreal, I don't think, is I was doing this documentary for Gibson, because I've been working with them for probably 6 years now in a partnership. And I was in this documentary, just like what we're doing right now, and I did like a 20-minute segment about my working relationship with Gibson. And then they're like, all right, thanks, Marty, we're good. We got to clear the, strike the set for our next shoot. Got to get everyone out of here. I was like, all right, no problem. So I get up and I go to the door to leave. This is in Nashville at Gibson headquarters. And I open the exit door, and standing right there is Slash.
He's my guitar hero, by the way.
Mine too. I saw the original Guns N' Roses lineup in LA when I was 17 years old or 16 years old. And I have an older sister who used to drive up to the Sunset Strip and see all the bands with her like rocker boyfriends that I would like idolize. She's 5 years older. She had all these like bad boy boyfriends and listen to all that music. And so it did make an impact on me. So Slash was a huge hero. Still is. I love Slash. But so I opened the door, Slash is standing there. But so yes, I'm starstruck. I also got to hang out with Jack Black a few times too.
Also amazing.
Another one of my heroes. But so Slash is standing there, and I'm like, oh my God, inside, in my inner voice, I'm like, oh my God, it's Slash. But he goes, whoa, Marty. And I mean, I almost feel embarrassed telling the story. It feels like it's not true. Like I question that it's true, but I remember it really happening. By the way, it was the same day that Howard Stern called me.
That was a good day.
It was a really wild day. But then Slash, he had just come out with a blues album. So it was like maybe we're approaching 2 years ago. He had come out with a blues covers album.
Yeah.
So that's like really, I think, why he knew me. Because I do a lot of blues stuff, techniques and whatnot. But he goes, whoa, it's like really cool, when you watch someone a lot and then you see him in person, it's really cool. And
You're like, yeah, I can relate.
my head's like... And then he was like, yeah, dude, man, I have like a bunch of your techniques saved on my computer. Like really, I was working on some really cool techniques, like when I was working on my blues album. Just like concepts, like I'm not better than Slash. Like Slash is the ultimate guitar hero. So it wasn't like I am in no way better than Slash in any way, but I know a lot of I've analyzed music as much as any guitar player in the last 20 years. I mean, I sit and wake up for my living and learn a song, analyze a solo, analyze a technique, and I went to music school. And I'm not a virtuoso. I'm proud that I'm kind of just like, was a normal guy that started guitar way later at 18 years old and didn't grow up with any musical inclination where people were saying, oh, you really should put your son in music class. I wasn't like a perfect pitch kid in any way. Yeah. I still don't there's tons of people who have way better ear than me, play better than guitar than me. And it's what you make of your strengths, right? Like I have people skills that helps with being a guitar teacher. I love music. I learned late. So I remember learning everything. So I can communicate that, I think, better than someone like Marcus King who doesn't remember learning guitar. Like how is he going to communicate techniques if he doesn't even remember learning them? He just communicates it out fluently, right? Yeah. So I've had little moments like that. One quick shout out though that happened recently is there's an Amazon series that's new that's a hit. It's called the Runarounds. And it's about these high school kids that have a rock band in high school, and they kind of like, it's a series, and then they get basically a record deal at the end of the series. And the show, they cast real musician kids that had real musical talent. They all were already in bands and stuff. But they cast them as musicians first who could act, not actors that they taught guitar. And
which is the normal way to do it.
Right, and so they're they're a real band now. So the band is real, but the show was fictional. And they reached out to me when they were playing in Nashville and invited me to play with them. And I mean, there's footage of it. It was just the coolest thing that's happened to me in a very long time, because of how much they like looked up to me, and like how I looked to you and I looked to Slash.
Yeah.
They looked at me like that. And the weirdest part was that it was sold out. Brooklyn Bowl in Nashville sold out, all screaming teenage girls, like not quite Beatlemania. And they're like a TV show. They're really cute, and the girls are in love with them and everything.
Now you're having your Beatles moment.
I am, but or like when the Beatles, the Beatles got to meet Elvis, and that was their hero. I'm in no way at that level, but I'm just saying, like, the modern time, they grew up with YouTube. I existed before they played guitar, when they were little kids, and they go, oh, I want to learn guitar, and they just type in like Nirvana, and then I'm the guy that pops up, and then I am on that journey with them. And so it was weird to go to that show, and it's all these screaming girls just screaming for them, like, Will, I love you, Axel. One of the kids' name's Axel. And, just going crazy, just worshiping them like Beatlemania. And then I show up because they invited me, and I don't really know that much yet about how I fit in with their relationship with them. And I go into the backstage room to like meet them, and they're like literally like shaking. They were like so excited and they said just wonderful things, and they literally just said, they wouldn't be on that stage if it wasn't for me. Now, if it wasn't me, it would have been someone else. I'm just glad it was me.
That is, just to bring it full circle, and when I started off talking about how important it is to inspire the next generation of musicians, like, that's your moment, right? That's just one example of millions of people you've influenced.
Yeah, it's, so like I said, I mostly wake up and think about what's still left to do with this great opportunity that's bestowed upon me, responsibility, and what more I can do. And then every once in a while, it's just kind of out of the blue. I run into Slash, or the Runarounds invite me to play with them, and then I see they tell me. And it doesn't, like I said imposter syndrome earlier. I think that's probably healthy, within reason, to stay like humble or whatever. But I have these moments like that where I'm like, oh my God, it is real, Marty. Like that voice inside my head, Marty, it's real. Don't forget. Like, that really happened.
That's
you
great.
really did do it. And so, yeah, I've had this new phase. I was telling some of your Guitar Center people here before we were rolling that there is something new happening in my phase.
Tell us.
Which has to do with guys like the Runarounds. There are guitar players and musicians and songwriters who were little kids that started with me, and I existed already. They don't remember a time before I existed, but now they're in their 20s, mid-20s, late 20s, who are now the ones that are becoming known, like they're becoming famous.
Yeah.
I have a very special relationship with them and I'm only learning that because they're old enough to be out now. When they were little kids, I would have never met them because they were at home as little kids, but I'm entering this new era where they're now taking over music, and I am their kind of North Star, or was their guide, their Obi-Wan Kenobi. I do use that Obi-Wan Kenobi analogy because they're the ones that are like the stars. I was the guide. Mm-hmm. And I'm now having this whole new experience with this generation, and they look at me different than I'm Gen X, boomers, Gen X, millennials. Like, I have a great connection with all of them that have learned guitar. It used to be mostly boomers. Like the first like decade, it was like mostly boomers. You know, older dudes that were just like, oh, I watch your lessons, you know, and now all of a sudden it's like young. And that's so exciting because I was like, yeah, it's like
That's what we need.
I was like, oh, it's all these old people know me.
Yeah.
Like we need the young people, you know? And I didn't realize that they were, but they were like, you know, 7 years old, 6 years old during that time. So I would never have met them. And now they're the Runarounds and so many others. I'm like, I've never sat in more with more bands in my entire life than the last like 3 years, especially being in Nashville. It's like sometimes
So
it's like
all coming back home.
Yeah, sometimes it's like 4 or 5 nights a week I've sat in with different bands that are coming through town, and they're just reaching out, like, and I'm loving it. It's so much more fun sitting in on one song than playing in the whole night, because they make a big deal out of you. We're gonna bring someone out right now. He helped you. He helped us. Give it up. And then I get to play a solo. And the other cool thing as a guitar player is if it's 1 or 2 songs, I don't worry about running out all my licks because I just throw them all out in one song. And I walk off like, oh, I had more licks, but that's all you guys get. When in reality, it's like the kitchens. I'm just like, you like the kitchen sink? What? So anyway, yeah, I'm in an amazing phase and I'm so grateful for it.
And you just launched a podcast. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, I've interviewed people. I love other energy, right? Because a lot of my content is like I'm in a room by myself. Another reason why I don't always think about the impact is that I'm in a quiet room or a garage by myself. I shoot it by myself. So there's no one's telling me like they're watching it. It's like I make a video and the next day I make another video. And
your feedback loop is...
Yeah, I'm just like, I'm in the zone of just making.
And how many do you do a week?
Well, I used to release a long form video, like literally like 6 a week. Which
That's
is
crazy.
It's crazy. And anyone I've talked to says that's crazy. Yeah. YouTube's changed a lot, but I have like already a library of all the most famous songs anyway. So now I'm releasing 2 long forms a week. It evolved. It was like 4, then it was 3, then it was 2. So I'm down to 2 long forms a week and a short every day. And then I do 2 live streams a month for my members only. And I have a new system where they, it's for my website, my membership community. The coolest thing about that's less than a year now, where I used to do live streams where people could just type in comments. But now I have a new system where I do a live stream and people can basically raise their hand and pop up on video from their garage or their room or their man cave.
So now you're really connected face to face.
Yeah, and they can ask me a guitar question and everyone watching can relate to it. Like it's all the same. Everyone's kind of on that same like, Marty, I'm just not switching the chords smooth enough. And it's like, everyone can relate to that. Or like, oh, my licks doesn't sound like I'm soloing. It sounds like I'm playing a scale. Oh, well, well, show me what you're doing. Bing bong. Okay, try these 3 things really quick, and then everyone's like, oh, that's really good. So that's a new thing. And then once a week, I have been doing a podcast where I'm interviewing various musicians. I've had Marcus King, Susan Tedeschi, Trey Hensley, Robert Randolph, Mono Neon. Although you can't really interview Mono Neon. I don't know if you've heard of him. He doesn't really talk back, but he's really amazing. Singers, great. There's so many talented singer-songwriters in Nashville. Sometimes I just want to feature someone that isn't necessarily known, but I think they're amazing.
Yeah.
And I want to feature them. So basically, yeah, I have a little podcast studio, and...
Are you still in your garage?
No. Well, actually... So I bought a house in Nashville, and there is a big studio apartment above the garage.
Okay.
And that's my studio. So I'm above. I made it above the garage.
You got the penthouse.
Yeah. So it is still technically the garage. And for a year in my generation, I was like, like a Fonzie apartment, because on Happy Days, Fonzie lived up above the garage dating myself here. But yeah, so I'm above. I made it above the garage now, but I have a really cool setup. A cool set, and people come in, And, you may relate to this. I don't know how long you've been doing this podcast. How long have you been doing it?
We just started it. We started recording in September, and we launched it right in the beginning of January.
Perfect. So what you'll notice, I haven't talked to you about this at all, is that the real diehard people will watch the long form podcasts, but most of the views are coming from the
snippets.
The snippets.
Yeah.
And then if it's someone they really like, you always say, oh, well, you can watch the full thing here. And then they go and watch the full thing. And those are the most important people.
Right.
But the volume of people is mostly watching the little, vertical 1 minute clips from it. And I actually have really fun, and I'll do it with, can I do it with you right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a few questions, and it's data, right? So like I've asked certain questions and the shorts have done really well. So then I'm like, well, I'm always going to ask that question now.
Okay,
so can I do that with you now?
This is the all-star questions?
Yeah, can we
do
a reversal here?
I'm on.
I've done a lot of talking, but that makes your job easy.
My job's the easiest one.
I'm like, let's go. Okay, what was the first riff you ever learned on guitar?
Stairway to Heaven.
Classic, okay. What's a riff or a song you wish you had written?
I mean, Sweet Child of Mine.
Yeah, well, that's the most, that's a good one. One for me could have been like Seven Nation Army, because like every sports game.
It is completely addictive.
Yeah, every sports game of all, everywhere you go, oh. I mean, so that's a good one. Okay, so here's and keep in mind, I'm usually asking like some known musician these questions, so it's like, it's even more relevant than like a CEO of Guitar Center, although it is Guitar Center. Here's the other one I've been having a lot of fun with, is who would play you in the biopic?
Oh, good Lord. I don't know. And I don't want anyone doing a biopic of me.
No, I know. Nor me. But I'm saying Gary Sinise.
Yeah, I have heard that. Yeah.
That's just like the first one. See, for me, it would be Brad Pitt would play me.
Of course, yeah.
And I get it all the time. It's kind of embarrassing everywhere I go. They think I'm Brad Pitt for a second. No, actually, I used to get a lot of Jonah Hill because my voice tone is really in the same range as him, and I think he's hilarious. So I would have no problem with that.
This is great. I need a list of like 4 questions. Like I have one question, but it's only one. So I need my 4, my go-to questions. I'm going to ask you my one question.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Guitar Center story?
Oh, let's see. Oh yeah, I got a good one. But it's because I'm who I am now.
Let's do it.
It's not one from back in the day. Well, one would be just when I was a teenager, and it would just be really exciting for me and my buddies to get together and just go to Guitar Center. It was just like Disneyland. I couldn't afford anything. It was just to go and just, it was it's not even there anymore. It was in like Santa Ana, California. I used to go to the Fountain Valley one a lot.
I was just there.
As a teenager, that was the one I went to. Then I lived in San Diego for 25 years, and I lived in San Marcos. I know everyone at the San Marcos one still today. I walk in, I know everyone there, or that's still there. My favorite Guitar Center story, I did a collaboration with American Songwriter and Guitar Center, where I did it was like a commercial. It wasn't on TV, but it was a digital video commercial in collaboration with Guitar Center. But while I was there, I just was a Guitar Center employee for the day for maybe about 3 or 4 hours.
Tell me about your experience as a Guitar Center employee.
Well, I had my fedora on, so I was pretty recognizable. Actually, I do joke, like I'm probably the most famous I am in my life at Guitar Center.
Right, that is your target audience.
Yeah, that is like, and I definitely get the like, whoa, like how I was with Slash. Like I get that especially at Guitar Center. But yeah, it would just be crazy double takes because I'd greet them. I'd be like standing at the entrance, and someone would walk in. Hi, welcome to Guitar Center. I'm Marty. Can I help you with anything today? And they're just like, what? They kind of get tongue tied. They don't really know what to say. And I love like setting someone up with taking them over to a little rig, the pedals, what do you call that? You have your pedal
board, pedal station.
Pedal station. Yeah. Love taking people over to the pedal station and plugging them in, tuning it up for them, showing them a couple things, and they're just like, they're like they're usually, it's a very surreal moment for them, and I'm really enjoying like being able to have that effect. I also there's this young girl, Grace Bowers, that's getting really known. She's 19 years old, blonde, curly blonde hair, cute little female rocker guitar player, getting pretty known in the music world. I took her to the Nashville Guitar Center. And I got permission first, but it was just like on our phone. Yeah. I did the classic, like, I'm just bringing my niece in right now. She's thinking about learning guitar. Like, can we just like maybe try some stuff out? Can you like help set her up with something, And then they like plug it all in, and then she just like,
then she shreds.
And I like shot the guy's face, and he was like, what? So that was like fun. Like, that's like, what do you call that? Like viral, like trying to make a viral video. So that was like right around that same time. But I would say being a Guitar Center employee for a few hours was a thrill. I did work at a guitar store, not just like a mom pop independent guitar store.
It's one of my favorite things to do is just go work in the store for a day.
Yeah.
And I'll do everything from like checking people out to buying used gear to like packing stuff in the back storeroom. And I just find it's so great to spend time with customers, to like feel the joy they feel.
And they don't know who they're talking to.
No, they have no idea. Right? I'm just some dude at Guitar Center. And but also just it helps me understand what can we do better in the stores.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm just looking for friction points. Like what are we doing that is just too hard, or it's just like a friction point for a customer or whatever. And then I'm just like, every time I come out with a big list, and then my team gets enormous email of like, here's all the stuff we're going to do. And then that's what we're doing the next 6 months.
I'm relieved I'm not part of that. But I loved, before the internet, the first thing I'd walk into Guitar Center. I loved, there used to be at the San Marcos one, just photographs of like rock stars of them been in there. Yeah. So that I would always like, that guy, that was always really cool, exciting. And then I would go to the back where all the classifieds were. Guitarist wanted, band looking for guitar player, guitar lessons. Like I would just sit there for 25 minutes. I mean, that's kind of obsolete now, but I would.
Is it obsolete,
no, maybe not.
Should we like really accentuate that? I feel like
there could be something to that.
Yeah, I feel like that should almost be at the front of the store, like the band board or whatever, like gigs, opportunities.
Yeah.
Need a drummer.
I mean, I paid a lot of attention to that.
Yeah.
Up until YouTube, my career changing and all that. I mean, every time I was in there, I would spend quite a while just looking at all the different bulletins, and I ended up like playing with people and stuff through that.
Yeah.
I remember auditioning. This is before, when I moved back to California from college. I went to college in the Southwest, moved back to California, and I didn't know any musicians, so I was just constantly looking for things. And I remember auditioning for like kind of a, like an alternative rock band.
Yeah.
And, showing up and learning their tunes. And it was just, I'm more like funk, blues, classic rock.
I was wondering what you like.
Yeah, I'm more like Allman Brothers, Grateful Dead, and funk and soul.
That alternative is right down the center of my alley.
Yeah. But so I was doing a lot of stuff like, this would have been like 1998. All those bands I met all were some version of Green Day and Nirvana. Like they all sounded like,
that's right, yeah.
They all sounded like that. And it wasn't really, I didn't have that look either. It wasn't a great fit, but I was trying to meet people.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of that. Yeah.
So community, a big part of it.
Yeah.
I totally get that. And I think that's the role the local music store plays that you can't just get on Amazon or online, right?
I've seen, and maybe, how long have you been the CEO of Guitar Center?
A little bit over 2 years.
Okay. Well, that's a good testament to you, Gabe, because I really felt an upswing of Guitar Center in general, and it could be the last 2 years. It feels like there's just more relevance with Guitar Center lately, and I just feel like something's happening. I can't put it into words.
I appreciate you noticing.
Yeah.
I think that's, the entire company has just been mobilized about making Guitar Center a better experience for our customers.
Yeah.
And as all companies over long periods of time, sometimes they lose their focus a little bit. And the last couple of years, we've just been like laser focused on making a better experience in the physical stores, having better product available and easy to play, really investing in our people so they can be happy and invest in our customers and their training and knowledge. So, and all of that comes back to, we just asked ourselves a simple question: what is important to our customers? And then we built an entire strategy around that.
Cool.
And it wasn't like, oh, we're going to take 3 cents out of cost there and 9 cents out of cost there, and like that's not what we did. We just said, let's just make our customers happy, and what's it going to take, and what's their frustrations, and that's really been the last 2 years.
Yeah, and you it's probably during the pandemic era, but you put the lesson pods in there and really upped the education aspect, which makes a lot of sense, obviously, to me.
Well, that's a big focus for us now, and
because you're creating customers.
We're creating customers, right? But also, and we're investing in the next generation, and it's something where that's something we're still learning. Like I look at what you have done, and you've been really thoughtful and structured about how you put together your curriculum and approached it, and I think there's a great opportunity for us to figure out what is our point of view here? What is the best way to deliver that experience? How do we close that 6-day gap, right? Because online you can just binge, you can go. If you have an in-person lesson, there's nothing in those other 6 days. Like, how do we close that? How do we create a great experience? So I'd say I'm really proud of our lessons program, but it's still on first or second base.
Yeah.
Right?
I get it. Well, think about the amount of people that try guitar for a few weeks and then they just don't do it again. They're not gonna, as opposed to the more people can stick with it, and the more guitarists, drummers, keyboard players, the more they stick with it and get passionate about it, then it's just good for the whole world. Obviously, it's great for Guitar Center, because the more passionate they are, the more, every guitar player knows gear acquisition syndrome.
Can I show you? I just bought that yesterday. That one right in the middle. I love it. It's an Ernie Ball Music Man.
Those guitars play great.
Yeah.
Those guitars play great. I'm very familiar with them. Right? So look at you.
Yeah.
Look at this.
I'm addicted.
The more people stick with it, the more they end up with that.
What is that magic point? After 6 weeks, after 3 months?
I think 3 months, but everyone's different, and also depending on the other things going on here. Obviously, an adult with a family and a full-time job, they can't be like what I was in high school, where I could play for 4 hours, not because someone was telling me to, because I broke through that first hump is the hardest. The first hump of guitar, which on average, I would say 3 months. You can play the open chords pretty fluently.
Right.
Couple little riffs like a Wish You Were Here kind of thing. Maybe if you're more into rock, you can play power chords a little smoother. In 3 months, when you get a little foundation, then learning new things is just learning tiny little new things that it's, you already can play and it's fun. But you learn a little new song, you learn a little, I never could do a lick like that before, but since I already have so much fun playing, now I'm gonna just work for 5 or 10 minutes on that thing that's a little bit harder, but I can have so much fun still with the stuff I can already do. So it's that first hump is when most people do give up, because it's challenging. The first, couple days,
the first
it feels
week,
really
your
daunting.
fingers hurt, right? And your fingers don't go where you want them to go, and you don't know why. So I'm taking away 3 months, 5 minutes a day.
Yep.
And you're hooked.
I really think so. And then hopefully some of those 5-minute sessions become 2 hours just because you're having fun, not because anyone's forcing you to.
Yeah. One
other thing, because I get a lot of emails, questions, comments, DMs, whatever. Marty, I'm just not playing a lot. I'm just not motivated. I'm just not, how can I get more motivated? I don't play enough. And in some ways I want to say, well, then maybe it's just not for you. It doesn't have, if you're just saying you're not passionate, then maybe, you know, I don't have a good answer to like motivate you. Like if you're not digging it, then maybe it was something you tried. Yeah. So, you know, it doesn't have to be for everybody, but it is that first phase, because once you can play one of your favorite songs, like Smells Like Teen Spirit's not too hard, Wish You Were Here is a big one, but once you can play one of your favorite songs, I feel like that's the hook.
100%.
You're playing like your heroes, you know?
And if you get comfortable to play in front of someone else or with someone else, that's the game changer.
That's a whole other, so I have an event about every 6 weeks in Nashville at the Gibson showroom called Back to Basics, and I have a full band, and it's really designed for amateurs, but little shredders, little kids that will make you want to quit will show up just because they want the opportunity to like get on the stage and play with a band. You know, it's really cute actually. But I have a whole event just designed for someone to feel what it feels like to play with a band in front of some people, and it's all very supportive because they're all the same. So almost like an open mic night kind of energy, but it's really to get people to just feel that experience. And that's a thing that hooks you too, is if you've just been playing in your bedroom, you know a few riffs, let's say Smells Like Teen Spirit, you show up to that event and you get on stage and I go, hey, oh, Gabe, great to meet you, man. Like, don't worry, it's gonna be great. Like, don't worry too much. What do you wanna do? Oh, well, I kinda know Smells Like Teen Spirit. All right, say no more. Ready? And the drummer's like, and you know, and I'll like, play with you to make you sound better, you know, like I'll kind of like get you going. But once you feel the full band kick in and it's like you've been given the like, you know, the magic, you know, the magic staff from Gandalf, like, oh my God, I've got the power. You're hooked. You're hooked.
And we will close out with Lord of the Rings.
Yes. Why not? Why not?
Marty, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks,
what a
man.
great conversation.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you for what you do for music and for inspiring generations of musicians.
I'm going to keep going. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Make sure to subscribe to his YouTube channel, subscribe to his podcast, check it out. Marty Schwartz, fantastic. And make sure to subscribe to ours too.
May the Schwartz be with you.